Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to World War II in Depth. In today's episode, I've got for you a shotgun tips and mini guide video because we're getting ready to review all of the shotguns, but they're coded a little bit funny in this game. They have some non-obvious properties that I want to talk about first in order to avoid confusion in later in-depth episodes, and there's a lot of very important knowledge. I have gameplay of almost every shotgun, so I do hope you enjoy it. But first things first, shotguns in this game deal 3 distinct types of damage every single time you shoot somebody. You have an initial damage, you have a pellet damage or bonus damage, and then if you're running the incendiary shells, you have a fire damage on top of that, and it makes calculating damage and range and one-shot kill potential and all this sort of stuff much more complicated than it has been in previous Call of Duty games. Similar to the Black Ops 3 shotgun rework or mid-game buff, the initial damage is a flat amount of damage per shot if any of your pellets hit the target. So for example, let's take a look at the toggle action. If I shoot somebody and I'm kind of aiming really poorly and only one of my pellets hits them, it's still registered as an initial damage hit and it applies a flat damage to that target if one pellet hit. If I'm super accurate and I hit them with all of my pellets, it still applies that exact same initial damage. It just gives a flat bonus if you get a hit. In the case of the toggle action shotgun and the Luftwaffe drilling, the amount of initial damage is very low. However, in the case of the combat shotgun and the sawed-off shotgun, the damage is much higher. This is designed to make each shotgun guarantee a certain number of shots to kill at a fixed range. So up close, the toggle action is a guaranteed 2-shot kill, and at long range, the combat shotgun is a guaranteed 2-shot kill. It's a balancing lever that removes a lot of the randomness of hitting or missing a certain number of pellets. Now, when it comes to the pellets, they do matter, the spread does matter, and your accuracy does help, because each pellet that hits applies a certain amount of bonus damage on top of that initial. Now, the pellet damage is usually really low, in some cases 1, sometimes 2. The highest on the Luftwaffe drilling is 10, but basically this is a little bit of icing on the cake, and the idea is that pellet damage rewards accuracy and it rewards aiming down sights a lot, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because if you shoot somebody, you'll get, let's say, 80 initial damage, and then all of your pellets hit, and you get a certain amount of bonus damage for each of those pellets, and it puts it up over 100 and you get a kill. Whereas somebody that maybe only hit 1 pellet, they get that initial bonus damage of 80, so the enemy's very weakened by the shotgun blast, but since they didn't hit enough pellets, it won't kill them. They'll need another shot to guarantee that kill, which makes the shotguns consistent, but not logically consistent. They're consistent feeling in game, and it helps smooth out lag and goofy aiming and hipfire boxes, but it doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it from a breakdown like this. Moving along, there is fire damage as well because we have incendiary shells. The fire effect is a burn over time effect that takes place over about 1 second, and it seems to hit you every couple of frames. The tick rate on this is incredibly fast, and it seems to apply maybe 10 to 15 additional damage per shot. It's not a very high amount of damage, surprisingly low actually, but it's designed in a way to where it usually pushes you just over that 100 damage marker to guarantee a kill about a second later. Of note, if you decide to run armored, you will be extremely resistant to this. It more or less negates the entire effect. I don't want to say completely negates it because the fire will deal some damage to you, but it'll deal significantly less damage than it would have if you weren't running armored. And I think that armored is a very, very strong counter to incendiary shells because on top of negating most of the fire damage, incendiary shells reduce your damage range, but usually add more total damage if you factor in the burn if the target isn't running armored. Man, this rule set's getting a little bit complicated. But if I choose to run incendiary shells on a shotgun, its raw one-shot insta-kill potential is cut down significantly. It doesn't appear to alter the base damage, but just the base range. I can still one-shot kill with these shotguns, I just need to get closer with them. And as long as the target isn't running armored, the total damage at the end of that additional second with the burn is usually higher, but that does give the enemy more opportunity to keep shooting you and kill you, so incendiary shells end up with a lot more kill trading than they do insta kills. So each time you shoot somebody, what the game sees is your initial flat damage for getting a hit of some kind, then it calculates your bonus damage based on how many pellets hit, and then if you're running incendiary shells, it'll add the fire burn effect on top of that. Of note, since we're in this section, shotguns do not have any body multipliers, headshot, neck shot, anything, so shooting somebody in the feet is just as good as shooting somebody in the head, and headshots with shotguns ultimately do not matter at all. Like shotguns in previous Call of Duty games, aiming down sights will tighten your pellet spread on all shotguns. This improves all shotguns in the game. On some of them, such as the combat shotgun and the Luftwaffe drilling, it tightens them not a whole lot more than just running steady aim, because steady aim tightens it up too, but you still get the tightest spread when aiming down sights. The toggle action gets by far the greatest benefit from this. It takes all the pellets and condenses them into this tiny little wad like a slug, and it is just laser pinpoint accurate. If you aim down sights with the toggle action and you get a hit, I guarantee you every single one of your pellets hit. However, given the nature of that weapon and the way it's spammy and the way the bonus damage works, it may not always be in your best interest to do this, because it's easier to just hip fire and get that initial flat damage over and over again and keep stacking damage until the target dies. However, if you truly want to maximum your damage, aiming down sights is the way to go on the toggle action, and it helps a lot on the drilling as well. Advanced rifling does increase your total range and your damage over range, so if you add advanced rifling, there's an extra couple of feet or so which you can hit somebody, which you couldn't have before, and you just get more one-shot kills in general, which is nice. And unfortunately, just like the submachine guns and assault rifles, the sprint out times are kind of slow. You can only rush so hard with these shotguns. You can't run and get in people's faces really hard and expect instant reaction time. They are very much so a push to cover or push to corner and hold the corner while walking or crouching or something. I really would not advise just running and gunning and sprinting in, because the sprint out times will get you killed. Guys, that's all for this short episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. And again, this is a building episode. We're working up toward the full shotgun In Depths, which will be coming very soon. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out. If you want all the weapon stats for World War II in your pocket to go, then look no further than the Ultimate Utility app by Brass Monkey. It's available on iOS and Android. There are links in the description, or you can just search for it in the App Store.